How are you, Mr. Mellison?
Good. Good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on this meeting today. I know you're a busy man and I
Hmm.
appreciate it a lot. And first of all, thank you for everything you do and actually inspiring me to take on this project that is probably beyond me, but that's why I'm asking for help.
Great. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. So you are in Oregon right now?
Yeah.
Okay, great, great.
Cold. It's cold and raining.
This
And
I don't know how much time you have, so I just want to respect your time and see what we can um
yeah, I don't have a specific end time, but I just have a lot going on, of course.
okay, great. Not going
Yeah.
back to India though, right?
No, not yet. I'd love to. I still have to finish editing all the videos first. I still
Oh,
have,
so that's from recently, right?
well, I mean, I was there at the beginning of the year.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and I did a lot of filming. I was there last winter into February of this year, and I did a lot of filming. So I'm still just kind of getting through all the editing, along with I've done more filming since then as well. So I feel like once I finish editing all the videos, then I could think about going back to India.
Okay, so you really feel at home over there.
Oh, I just it's just an exciting place. It's
Yeah,
just really, yeah, it's just so different and fascinating over there.
it's one of the places in my bucket list. I know some other people that says India changed their life, so
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
but I thank you again, and I just wanted to know if you got a chance to look at the data points that I sent you from Google.
Yeah, I did. Wait, did you send me a KMZ file?
I
Did you?
don't know. I just sent you a link because I am not too familiar. I haven't really worked with Google Earth,
Oh yeah.
but I did send
Okay.
you two
No,
links.
I looked. I was just curious. I was just wondering.
So I can also open Google Earth and share my screen so we can look at it. And what I wanted to get was your perspective. I
Yeah,
might think in the right way.
yeah,
The main concern that I have is that we have a lot of deforestation, but a lot of those
yeah,
places and landowners, they don't want to uh, forest, they don't want to plant trees all over the place. But my idea is that with permaculture, especially the swales, and maybe a few lines of trees with the livestock owner, cows, we might be able to really sell them the idea of swales to help us to stop the drying of the creeks and rivers that we have. I know Rafael Brisita, which I was hoping he would get here on time, but I know he's on the road in the Dominican Republic right now.
hmm,
He was telling me that one of the main rivers is in danger in one of the San Jose Las Matas, Dominican Republic. And in that area, it's very hard to actually plant trees. But I think with swales and just a few lines, I'm thinking that we could actually regenerate and recoup some of the volumes that we lost. And also to stop it from, if you look at the deforestation, how massive it is, it wouldn't be out of their reality to think that in a few decades we might have a desert in that zone the way it's going.
yeah,
So I don't know if you want me to share the screen so you look at the topography of the land, how it is, and if you think we'd like to know from you first of all if you think swales and other key points or different methods would be good for that type of mountain
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Well, I am looking at the. I guess I brought up maybe, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen with me? I brought up your links and stuff, but it maybe be better if you share your screen and then I can
Yeah.
um yeah,
By the
just
way,
see
you
stuff
see
too.
my screen there, fifth one.
Yeah, I do.
I just want
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that I spoke to them last week and they are willing to actually help us to do the work and training too. And I
Oh, nice.
mentioned your name to them to make sure that it wasn't a problem. If I don't know, you probably would be able to help us in a limited way because of your time, but even just visiting one time or two, or even
Mhm.
documenting some of the projects and what we
Yeah.
can do, that would be a big help for us.
Hmm.
So let me go to Google.
I've heard of them before.
Good, good. So they say that I called them at the right time. And that might be great, because what I'm trying to see is if we can get even government support for if we can get government funding from the Dominican Republic, and with people like
Hmm.
you, in Fifth Ward, and my friend Rafael Brisita, and a few other institutions, I think we might be able to get government funding, at least if on a local level, not the whole country. But, and I also like the idea that they did in India of a competition, because I feel
Yeah.
that might be something we could try to do, enough funding for a nice price. But the biggest
Yeah.
price will be what they get when they have all those rivers and creeks coming back to life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so here, let me just. So this is like one of those areas that
Yeah.
there's even a dam right here. Sometimes the dam is in very critical stage because some of the rivers are drying up, and you can see why. All the way back there, the far horizon, that's the highest peak in the Dominican Republic. Well,
Hmm.
behind those mountains. So you can see that that one is very well forested because it's supposed to be a protected zone. Most of the problem is around this area right here.
Yeah.
You can see
Yeah.
this was all covered with trees before.
Right. So what's it being used for right now?
A lot of agriculture and livestock like cows and things like that. So grazing, goats and things like that. Uh,
Yeah.
I, I mean, it's throughout all this place here. Now the other place, so this is a more critical because the main city, San Jose de las Matas, is having a lot of water problem, and
Hmm.
trying to think about a gravity aqueduct, but we need to increase the water volume first for those kind of things. Let me go to this run right here with this one here. We're gonna go to Arroyo Prieto. This one here is it's kind of weird because this is a very important creek right here there's an aqueduct right here for the community that I'm from, and for like 3 other community. But
Hmm.
see, it doesn't look so bad. Like this section here, of course, I don't know why it's losing volume, but maybe it's affected by the aquifer coming from even on this side, right? That's possible too, right?
Well, is it subsurface? I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on the aquifer a lot, right? But you're saying that that little sub basin right there looks like it's not really deforested, but still the water has decreased.
Correct. And it's actually, if I show you a picture, I took a picture in 2006 and one in 2001, and
Yeah, you showed me that. Yeah.
it looks so much smaller. And then the deforestation that is really bad that I was showing you
Yeah.
was is towards this side. So like you can see, if we keep going this way, we will get to where we were before.
Yeah.
This is where it starts getting bad. And there are
Yeah.
some
Is
important
that what are they? Yeah. I mean, what are they cutting the trees for?
agricultures and for pasture, for grass for the cows, livestock basically.
So they're just basically like trying to change it from a forest into a grassland for the cattle.
Yes, and you can see I actually was walking here. I was walking here like last year, and I went up these mountains and I saw cows, very high area in the mountains.
Mhm.
I saw cows all over here. So a lot of that is for cows, and they also contaminate in the water. Rafael Brisita, my friend, is always talking to them about that. At that altitude, they shouldn't have cows if we're drinking water from below.
Yeah. Now, are they also like cutting the wood and selling the wood or making charcoal or?
Yes, yes, in many areas. And those are very aggressive actually, because there's a lot of bribery when it comes to that, because they might get a permit to cut 10 pine trees, and then they cut thousands of trees with that permit. And you know, the minister of um, environment ministry is not, I mean, it's very the high officials, they do get bribed a lot, unfortunately. And here is Mata Grande. This is they also see like this little creek here called Arroyo Mata Grande. They lost a lot. Sometimes it's even dried up. And but over here we do see a lot of deforestation too. And this is like but this watershed right here, I could see how the swales, if we are allowed to do swales and ponds down this valley, at this whole watershed, we should be able to increase this water volume over here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I guess the thing is do you have, are there the legal structures that you can actually have cooperation with landowners in the valley and you can do things that will not be destroyed,
Yeah,
you
so
know?
so right now, and this is part of the whole thing. I wanted to have your inputs and fifth world inputs, because I do have some important meetings coming up with some nonprofits organization that I am very familiar with, that could really have a lot of inputs in convincing the community for this. And there are many communities that I'm sure they will be willing to do this. I'm already getting a lot of feedback from some environmentalists that throughout the country, that they're getting inquiries already about some of the videos that I share, some of your
Mhm,
clips. You know, I took some of your clips and talked about it, and
mhm.
there is interest in this. And I'm gonna be doing some survey. Like Sunday, I have a meeting with a few landowners from the different areas and see what they think about the swales and the permaculture, because I'm also trying to sell the idea, not just to recharge the aquifer, but also to go, maybe we could do what they did in India, to just go permaculture without pesticides and fertilizer. Because you know how when you go, I left that place when I was 13 years old, but when I go, and there was a lot of birds and different, the fauna, the flora and fauna was different. And now I
Yeah.
go, and what I hear is the silent. Like in my father's coffee plantation, in one coffee tree, there could be like 30 different birds. And
Mm,
now there's none. Like you don't see
right.
that. So what happened? I think, could pesticides have had an input that we actually started losing some very important trees that used to be seen all over the creeks? Like it was very common to see some of those trees in the creeks, and now they all gone. And maybe are we hurting the ecosystem with pesticides so bad that it's affecting everything?
Yeah. So I think that one key, I mean, first off, just like, you know, your idea, it's good to just work in a watershed that you can actually do the whole watershed as
Mm-hmm.
an example to start with. It seems like there's so much pressure from grazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you either need to like battle the grazers and change the laws or whatever, or you need to figure out some sort of system that actually that you actually incentivize the grazers to want to do.
And I think
Right.
the swales is part of that.
Well, I think that, I mean, swales, really the purpose of a swale is for tree establishment. Okay. I mean, it stops the water from running off, but ultimately you're building a subsurface water table so you can get trees established. But I'm thinking like, you know, swales or some sort of water harvesting structures that are working together with an agroforestry system that actually can have economic value to the farmers and actually make them more money. Whether you're doing agroforestry, that you're harvesting trees sequentially, or whether you're actually planting some kind of woody species that actually are good fodder for cattle and will actually help to feed the cattle and stop erosion at the same time. I'm just trying to think of like some like win-win things. I mean, otherwise it's sort of like I don't understand, say, the politics about how you could actually stop people from doing bad land practices. A lot of times people do bad land practices because they have some level of desperation. They're poor,
Yeah, that happens here too. So that's one of the things, like, I know people have to survive. Somehow they came into this area that's very close to the protected zone, and they have to survive. So I was thinking that maybe it would be possible to do the combination of swales and ponds to make their land more fertile, but at the same time, wherever there's grazing for cows, wouldn't it make sense that instead of having no trees at all, couldn't you have some swales and a line of trees or two lines of
yeah
trees right behind
yeah yeah that's what I'm saying, is that you put in, like, that's what I'm saying when I say agroforestry system. That's like tree-based agriculture. So you put in, you could put in swales or some other. I mean, swales are just one thing. They're just one tool in the toolbox. There's a lot of different water harvesting structures, and of course, it depends on the slope, and it depends on what part of the landform you're in. But things like that'll actually increase grass, for one thing.
Yes, definitely.
It'll increase grass, but if you could also get some woody plants, like shrubs or trees or something that actually are beneficial to the cattle as well, then you create a situation where you're restoring the landscape, but you're also benefiting the people that are making their livelihood off the land, and that way it'll just spread because everybody wins. Like, so what is the win-win system? That's what I'm thinking. What is the win-win system where you can benefit the grazers and you can restore the hydrology of the landscape? What are the plants that you would plant in those?
There are plants that the cows would not bother, right? Like, there are plants. How about, like, for example, lime? I mean, you're more of an expert. I'm not a farmer at all. My father was a farmer, but I never really got an opportunity to learn much about it. Now I'm trying to learn. But, like, for example, I know limes are not a good thing for environments. There's more like macadamia and things like that they're trying to start over there. That's more helpful to the environment. But is there any fruit trees that could actually coexist with the cattle?
Well, I mean, fruit trees are more of like a higher maintenance thing. Like, you wouldn't just kind of put fruit trees out on a hillside, that they need to be tended, they need to be pruned, you need to check for insects. I'm thinking more like species that the cattle will eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's different tropical grazing species that will grow, and that the cattle will munch some off of those species, but also they will establish into trees. So it's like you add like a layer where you're providing more nutrition for the cattle and you're also providing stability. And I don't know, like, this elevation, the tropics, like, I mean, I know different species I've seen in other places. I don't know what the native species are that could possibly serve that function, but ultimately it's like, what 5 plants could you plant along a swale that would provide a secondary yield that people could create some benefit off of, and they would be incentivized to plant those?
And I think that's where Rafael Brisita would have come handy today, because he retired from the Navy after 30 years a few years ago, and he's been a professor in environmental also, and he's got to learn a lot more because he's living there now. So he would definitely help us with those kind of questions. What can we plant there? But again, I think we can definitely work with a lot of the communities, but I think they need more than me telling them. They need someone like you. And, Fifth Ward would be a big help too, to kind of have that credibility. Yes, this is what you can achieve with that. And I think the videos that I shown from you and from all the different sources is a real world type scenario where even in the desert, almost desert land, they were able to rescue some of those creeks and forests, and we still have time to do that here to stop it from going that far. And I think, but definitely the trees, we could definitely find out which trees, but there's a lot of research. But I know that with your backing and with Fifth Ward and with the nonprofit organization and just doing some grassroots work, and I'm going to be there in February. I'm thinking about even starting to measure some of the volume, the water flow on some of the creeks that are important to the communities. And we do need to pick one place. We do need to find the water. Let's say if it's Mata Grande here, Cuenca Mata Grande, if we get the community to jump on board, so we'll start there because we have the approval from the whole community and the different environmental laws that we have to abide by. If we get a pilot program started and we show how we increase the volume and that the farmers are actually seeing better grass for the cattle and better produce, then I think we can go to the whole region, to the whole district, or maybe even nationally. My goal is to try to push this nationally because there's a lot of flash flood right now happening through different places. And that's probably because now there's less trees in a lot of places. And now the water just ramps down to the river.
Yeah. I want to, can I share my screen for a second?
Sure, let me stop let me make you a host.
Okay, so you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so here's Mata Grande, right? And so I was just looking, like, this is 2009. This is now. So you could easily, and let's see, this is 2000, well, 2003 doesn't show up too well, but 2009 shows up pretty well. I mean, you can see, there was still a good deal of deforestation then, but then you can see how it's increased.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing to do would be to show the loss of forest cover
Yeah.
over time. And just to show them, like, look, okay, here's your watershed right here. What has the loss been, say, here's 2012. I mean, it looked pretty bad in 2012 too.
I mean, yeah, you know what could happen? And this is kind of might sound counterproductive, but the honest truth is a lot of people left through migration. A lot of people there left to the United States. So some land may have actually grown back some trees, but so I don't know why are we losing? Why are we not increasing the water volume then?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess there are some data points, right? One of those is has the rainfall changed? And these are kind of things of research, right? Has the rainfall changed? Has the temperature changed? And has the land cover changed? Right? And then how has that changed the water flow? So some of those things, I mean, like here you can get some of that data, like has the land cover changed from 2009? You could kind of figure that out just by going through these satellite images. You might be like, oh, in 2009, there was 10% more tree cover, right? So there's that. Then you can also look at this area right in here, for instance, right? Here's this area right here. And, that obviously, that was, yeah, you can see. So you can show, okay, you can say, okay, why did things dry up? Is it the land cover change? right? There's obviously been a lot of forest, and this is the kind of thing where you can there's a lot of tools that can measure this, right? You don't have to sit there and draw it out. I mean, there's people that, I mean, the government should be able to provide that information. There's also people, there's this open source data, right?
Mhm.
There's this thing called, what is it called? Forest Watch. I'll have to look it up for a second. One second. Yeah, Global Forest Watch, Global Forest.
Yes, yes, I heard of them.
Okay,
So
wait. I'm actually sorry. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second, and then I'm gonna reshare my screen so I can show you. I'll just reshare my whole screen because I was just sharing my Google Earth. So yeah, Global Forest Watch, and you can look at data here, and we can go to the DR.
it will be interesting to see this time lapse in the other region, which is worse, like the other side that I was telling you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we were over here.
Yes, San Jose de las Matas.
Yeah. So I mean, this actually measures forest loss here. You can see it
Yes.
from 2001 to 2022. So yeah, this is that reservoir, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to them and you can say, look, this watershed here has lost this much forest in the last 20 years, right? And you can see if the rainfall has stayed the same or the rainfall's changed. And then you can see, oh, has the temperature gone up? Because when the temperature goes up, you have more evaporation. Things dry out more. So you can say, forest loss plus temperature rise plus maybe there's a decrease in rainfall. I don't know. You'd have to see, has equaled less water flow. And then I don't know. And then the question is anybody actually measuring the water flow?
There is a measurement that I saw from the main river bow. There's a river to the below closer.
Yeah, right there.
So right there was measurement. That's actually, by the way, remember that I spoke to you about a dam. That's actually where they're going to build a dam right there.
Oh wow, okay.
It's that whole river will be gone because it's gonna be a dam only to divert it from that side to the other mountains. So all those people, 90% of the people don't want that dam because they're losing the whole river all the way to, over 35,000 people will lose that river. So that's an economic thing and future investment in ecotourism too that is going to be lost.
Yeah.
But we could I saw some measurement, and according to the measurement that I saw, they had like 108 cubic feet. I don't remember the units because it's confusing because I also have a book from the 80s and 70s that they say that river had like 17 cubic meters per second, I guess. But it doesn't correlate to the data that I saw. But they did show that it was 108 at one point, like 40, 50 years ago, and now it's only like 37 to 40. So it's supposedly lost over 50% of the volume.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I'm just thinking of like leverage points, like ways that you can talk to them to explain the problem and what your possible solutions are. And things, because you can show them like that are facts, right? So facts like the deforestation loss, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact, right? And can you show them, is it a fact that you've had less water, right? Are there records? Is there data you can show them to show them like, look, the water supply has decreased here?
So we have hundreds of creeks in the Dominican Republic that have dried up completely. So that's a data point that we can make sure somebody has to have those.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, as a credibility factor for what we're trying to do you see permaculture helping us to at least regain part of the water volume by doing the swales, ponds? Because I think we can even do in some areas, even at the very top of the mountains, we can do some ponds and route the water to the ponds on top instead of letting it go down to the rivers. We could start from the top and actually start recharging those aquifers. Do you see
Yeah.
you see this as a feasible? Do you see this as a credible response to what we have in, so we can then, as an expert like you know, saying that this is something that would definitely help uh, to make sure that we can sell that to the community? Do you see that as a possibility? Now, another problem that I
Yeah.
have as a concern is if the degree of inclination is too steep,
Yeah.
if they don't plant trees on those swales or
Yeah.
structure, we might
Yeah.
have landslides then.
Yeah. I mean, you have to like these steep areas and stuff where you have all this erosion, right?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of this is it's I mean, I'm only seeing from Google Earth, and wait, I think my let me see if my settings, I might actually have it on I might have my terrain exaggerated. One second, let's see. Let's put on 0.
And you see
So
yeah.
I wanted to just get rid of the exaggeration so I didn't see this. Because, I mean, there's certain slopes that are too steep and really you need to just do reforestation. I don't know what this is here. If this is reforest,
That looks like agriculture or what? Or
I mean,
that's
it looks like they're
plant?
growing trees.
Yeah, so that might be pine trees.
Yeah, it might just be some tree, like, tree plantation. I mean, on the steeper slopes, you can do some water harvesting structures, but like you can't do there's different things that you do at different degrees of slope.
And according to the terrain too, right? Because if it's like
Yeah,
a lot of rocky thing and we have
yeah,
if we have if we are surrounded by rocky ground and we have a spot that we can do a pond, that would not cause any problem there for landslides.
yeah. I mean, typically when you're thinking about ponds, you end up being lower down.
Lower down.
I mean, up high, you're getting these slopes forested. You're doing maybe some swales coming across to get your forestry rows going, basically, or you're just planting or seeding or just restricting grazing. I
Yes.
mean, just restricting grazing or managing grazing, like it's hard to say just looking at the map. Like, could this be controlled by just getting the cows off of it or getting the cows on some rotation, putting up fencing and having the cows move around instead of, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of
Can
there's a
you go
lot of
back? Can you go back down to that spot that right? Yeah, right there. That you no the no the one you had that very bad. Yeah, anywhere there.
yeah.
If there's cows there anywhere in those, there's it doesn't bother the cows to have some horizontal lines of trees there, and then you could also add even if it's some small swale, it doesn't have to be the 1 meter by 1 meter swales.
Yeah.
It could be small swales and some
Yeah.
trees planting. That's not gonna, you're not losing so much and you're getting better grass. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to sell.
Yeah. 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 I think that's a good strategy, especially in the grazing areas. It looks like these people went and planted.
Yeah. Now, with your experience and what happened with India, you have a video that they actually were able to eliminate pesticide and actually gain more profit. So they were spending less and getting more profit because
Yeah.
it was mostly, I wouldn't say organic, but it was no pesticide use. So do they get a certification that they could sell it for more money?
If it does not have chemical residues, then they get it tested and their vegetables don't have chemical residues and they do get a premium price.
Nice. That would be something to, I think that's a big point too. If we could just,
Yeah.
from your experience, what we feel that's happening with the birds disappearing from some areas, could
Wait,
that,
Raphael entered the waiting room.
oh, Rafael, you made it? Let me see.
You hear me?
Oh, now we can hear
Oh
you.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Turn up the volume, but I apologize, but we're building roads everywhere. I was stopped like 5 times on the way back. You know, it's when you come here, Juan, you're not going to believe the amount of construction that's getting.
I seen some videos already. So Rafael, this is Andrew Millison. I don't know if you can see him, but
Hello.
and Andrew Millison has been doing some great job all over the world, just like you have with aqueducts and stuff like that. But with permaculture, Andrew Millison is a professor in Oregon University. Is it, Andrew?
Yeah, Oregon State University.
Oregon State University, and he's been all over India and all over the world with documenting some of the success that they have with permaculture, swales, and different things. And Andrew Rafael Brisita is a good friend of mine. He really loves nature, and he's trying to do a lot of work. He helped us design some of the aqueducts in a better way in my community over there and in his community. And now he's volunteered to listen to me to see if we can do something with this permaculture. And anything that Rafael, we went through a lot of things, but I'll show you the recording later on. So just to give you a recap, Andrew is saying that what we're looking at to do could be done if there is an incentive for the people to actually do the swales, but maybe plant trees too, because it's not meant, if I get it wrong, Andrew, you can step in. It's not meant to just do swales. If we could plant some trees, especially in areas that is too inclined, we need some trees planted along the swales to make sure there's no erosion or landslides. Because the land gets better, right? The land gets more humid, so there's more likely of slides if there's no trees.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, I mean, my one point that I've just seen a lot of places is places where I've seen the most success, right? Is when I look at a landscape like this, it looks like there's a lot of grazing, there's a lot of clearing of areas. And how can the people that are making a livelihood there, that are grazing cattle or, you know, making their money there, how can they be incentivized to do practices that are going to be good for the watershed? So, you know, are there like tree-based systems, like agroforestry kinds of systems, trees that actually could be planted, you know, on contour along with water harvesting structures like swales? Are there trees that could be planted, or combinations of trees that would actually be beneficial to the cattle, that would make the grass grow better? The people are if cattle is the main thing that's happening there, if you know, is there something that could be done that could both improve the water absorption there and also make the land more prosperous for the cattle? Because then people would have an incentive to want to take it up, and it wouldn't be a battle, but it would be cooperation. So that was kind of yeah.
That's a question for you, Rafael. Like, what kind of brushes or trees we could plant along the swales that could benefit the cattle owner?
Yeah, you know, and now we have I hope you guys can hear me. Now we have another dilemma that we're dealing with here in the area. You know, besides cattle, you know, there's a law here that says about 600 meters, you're not supposed to do any grazing, but they do it anyways. But now I'm finding out that a lot of people are clearing mountainsides to plant limes. And that's the next generation of this that's going on, because in order for you to plant limes, you cannot have any high shade or low shade. So a lot of people are going ahead and just clear the land and really burying it. They don't even want grass under the limes, you know, the lime trees. So that's another major issue we're having in the whole region, not just here where we live, but you're talking about maybe, you know, 100 kilometers in each direction, north, south, east, and west. You know, they seem to think that that's something that is going to bring them money, but it's not. Eventually, you destroy the soil. So besides cattle, now we're getting into this dilemma. Previous to that, the last maybe 15 years, it was, I don't know if I'm sure Juan remembers what that is. It's in Hawaii, it's called poi, which is a root. And what they were doing is they were clearing all the creeks and planting this root. You know, they call it, the Cubans have a name, Dominicans have a name, the Panamanians have a different name. But basically, it's a root and it needs a lot of water. And they were doing that too. So now they've gotten away from that.
Is it taro?
Yeah, it's taro root.
Right.
That's what, yeah. So,
yep.
That was a big fad here. You know, everybody was doing that. So they were destroying the creeks to plant the taro, you know. So, you know, it kind of went away. Now the fever is gone, you know. But, you know, what
happening there, Rafael, in San Jose de las Matas?
Yeah, I know. Anywhere there was a creek, they were doing that, you know, anywhere there was a creek in the region. So, but now it's like I said, it's lime. The big thing is, you know, the trees, you know, the Persian limes is what they're using. But, you know, again, it's one of those struggles that, you know, we're going to continue to have. I will tell you that something good is happening. That is, macadamia are coming into the area, and macadamia plants are pretty good at holding soil. Grass can grow under it. The issue is always the landowners. How do we incentivize them to let the trees be put in place and then grass, because their concern is about grass. They don't understand that you can have trees and grass at the same time. They seem to think that
that's my point.
Yes,
Yeah.
they don't believe in, you know, having both together. And obviously pines are not. You cannot have pines. Nothing's going to grow under a pine tree, you know.
Rafael,
But we need to look for.
I just want to respect the time for Andrew. Do you think that with Andrew, someone like Andrew, and also the other company that is offering to help us, Fifth Ward, if we do some seminars and education days, like whatever we can do, from professionals to having that knowledge shared with them, and making sure that we get media and that we get the authorities to be there, wouldn't we be able to sell this? And on top of that, try to do the pilot program in an area that you and I have to choose, make it work, make sure that we record the success, and then maybe have like what Andrew saw in India, that they had a major competition, and in 45 days, the area that was having water problem, they were able to work that in 45 days, and later on they were having creeks come back and then green areas coming back. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, on that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they were doing this. It would be good. I actually have the video in English and Spanish, but it would be good to see it to understand the whole thing. But they actually had a contest between villages,
yes,
to restore their watersheds in 45 days. I mean, you know, I guess the question is, do you feel like socially that would be something that would work here?
Yes, because I know in the Dominican people, especially in the countryside, I think if we tell them that this is going to make their land, even for cattle owner, if this is going to give them better grass, and at the same time they're going to be contributing to the water problem, to solve the water problem. But at the same time, if we can get all the communities, even if it's only San Jose de las Matas to start, but we get a good price for them to incentivize the community to be used in a good project for the community. Maybe we can get them to incentivize them, one, because they're gonna get better crops and water, and they have an opportunity to win first, second, third prize. And I think we can raise enough funds to make that prize a decent amount, at least in San Jose de las Matas. Then later on, maybe we could try to do it nationally. What do you think, Rafael?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you got to have a pilot, you know, and you know, to go back to your point is how do you bring people together? The government does very little, as we know. I think the issue here would be to get the organizations. You know, there's only 3 countries with this organization called Fondo Agua, which is backed up by big players around the world. including funding from the Germans and the UN. Get them to be part of the solution. And then the Cattle Owners Association, I've met with them already. There are some pretty good people there that want to do some work. So we would have to make them part of the pilot, even if it's not affecting their area, but they need to be part to promote the project and show them that it can be done. So there's 3 or 4 associations in the area. Like I said, Fondo Agua being, a nonprofit that does a lot of work. And then, each community has a group of cattle owners that gets together over time. So we need to try to get them on board to be able to promote it, because most communities here are tied to something that they like, and the cattle owners have a way of getting to people, inviting them to activities and things like that. But we have some work to do ahead, and show that it can be done. Like I think you were saying, Andrew, that the issue is how do we get people to understand that there's benefits for them, not just planting for the sake of protecting the environment, but what do they get back? And I will tell you from experience in Peru, I was down there in like 2018. I was in Guatemala, I was in Panama. The governments in those countries have something. They incentivize them by giving them like 10,000 pesos, which would be like $200 a month, to leave the side of a mountain alone for a few years. But we don't have that here. There's no incentive for the cattle farmers or anybody else that's doing harm to the environment. So there's no incentive whatsoever. And Panama is a good example. Guatemala is doing that. In Costa Rica also, actually, I was there back in the late 90s. Yes, you got to have a carrot for them that lets them know that there's something good that's going to come out of this.
But I think this is where Andrew's videos can help us too, because we see it happening in India. They know we're not gonna be lying about that. That's a fact. So they're gonna benefit from this. If India had no water and they were able to get it with this, and they had a price, I think we could do it. But that's for you and I to do. I like the fact that Andrew kind of agrees with me and you that this could work as long as we get the people to do it. And then, Andrew, my last question to you is, respecting your time, how would you be able to get involved with this, even if it's just documenting part of the project once in a while and showing progress, and or even selling this to the people, which you probably are helping us with, just allowing us to record this type of webcast, and showing it to everybody in the community that this is something that an expert, worldwide expert, believes that can work. That's going to help us a lot. But how can you be involved in this project to help us out besides, and it's not all on you, because Fifth World will probably take a big part in actually doing some soil samples and actually doing some of the work, but also the training. So it's not all on you. We have to do it.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. I mean, first off, I wanted to say from before is that a couple of Rafael touched on, he said you need a pilot.
Yes.
A really important part about the success of the India project was they had a pilot. They had an old village that people had restored back in the 80s. So they had a lot of this stuff in, an example of it that people could see. And then they brought them there, and they had a whole training. They had a very well developed, scientifically based training method. Right. Mm-hmm. So the question would be, is there a site, and maybe it's not in the Dominican Republic. I mean, maybe there's a site somewhere close by in the Caribbean that is an example. I mean, there must be somewhere that we could look at that, a watershed has been restored, right? That you could actually show some of these systems in place. You either need to find some place, because like I'm talking about like what's the most useful thing for me to do, right? I mean, one thing would be if there was a place that had already been done, it would be to go and to document it and then to show like, look, in this environment, I mean, maybe it's in Haiti, maybe it's Cuba, I'm not sure, but like, or somewhere in the DR, you know, or Puerto Rico, you know, where can we see a functional example? I mean, that's one thing, right? And if there's not a functional example, then you need to make a functional example, because people, I mean, people can watch videos, they can hear you say something, but when they actually can go someplace and see it, that's when they really understand, you know? So that's, I feel like it's a really crucial piece, you know? So, I mean, if there was a functional place, I could certainly help to document it. And maybe that's some research that you could do a little bit and see like, or maybe there's just pieces around to look at. Maybe not everything is in one component, but I mean, that would be one way that I could help, would be to do like a good documentation of a place that's functional.
But I think that if we do it in Haiti, if we have one in Haiti, if we have one in Puerto Rico, that's gonna be the same thing as them watching a video. So
yeah, no, it's true. I know, but at least it's in the Caribbean. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I think we.
But I think Andrew, I think we're in good shape there. We are going to be able to find a couple of places, micro here with we have a nonprofit called Plan Sierra, and they have restored some small areas, and I'm sure we can have a before and after, but you know, they're very small volumes, but we can actually reach out to them. I worked on a little project not too long ago. It's about 6 kilometers from my house. If you walk across the mountain, if you go around, it's about 25 if you drive. But there, we started working. It wasn't so much working on collecting the water, but restoring the land. And Coca-Cola was involved. Some other organizations were involved, where the farmers, especially the cattle people, were rewarded for what they did, planting trees and pulling the cattle out for a whole year to let nature take over again. So we do have a few places. So yeah, it's like you're saying, and Juan, here's the deal. We got to be able to have good evidence and be able to show it to people with the effects. You know, it cannot just be talking. We got to have good pictures and good results. But there are a couple of places. I can tell you there's one. That one I went myself, and then there's another one that's being worked right now that there are possibilities. Now, what you guys are talking about, it's a different now. It's a level of, it's another level of capturing the amount of rainfall we have in this island. We are second to the Amazon as far as the amount of rainfall that we have, but then we evaporate like 80% of it. We don't capture it. So that's where the problem is.
And that's why I think this permaculture thing comes in two phases. Phase one, capturing the water, and then I also want to sell the permaculture agriculture, because to get rid of pesticide, Rafael, and you know better than me what that has done. And maybe we could do this in two phases, but we need that pilot program, because I think what you're talking about that Plan Sierra did, it's nothing to do with soils. It's probably that they were able to plant trees in those areas. But in this case, I'm talking about the 70% of the area that they would not let us plant trees. The whole thing as trees, but they would probably let us do some swales and some lines of trees.
Yes. So my recommendation, Juan, is right now, if you're going to come in February, you know, we need to get, you know, we need to spend some time, you know, doing the research that Andrew's talking about, finding the sites, and then him coming down and help us putting together this good evidence, you know, with good videos and interviews and all that. So that needs to happen. But
I think we can do that. I think we need to do the pilot program ourselves, because if we're trying to incorporate swales, but there's nowhere else that they're using swales to do this thing, it's not going to help us too much.
No, exactly. But we can do the research and at the same time try to convince one of the farmers in this area that I told you here in El Dajao, and
that we can discuss ourselves. I just feel bad for Andrew that he gave us so much time.
No, it's okay. I think that you're in the, I mean, I think that if there's not something already there to look at, then I think trying to find a farmer who would be willing to, you know, to do it. You probably have to have some funding together, you know, to pay for equipment and, you know, get a design going. But to have a willing farmer with some land who's willing to do the demonstration, because in your climate, like you said, it rains so much. I mean, you could have very rapid results. I mean, things grow so fast here, you know, so you could have very fast results. You're not going to have to wait years and years. I mean, it's something where if you find a farmer, you get some funding, you know, just like you said, in India, they threw it together in 45 days. Well, if you have some, you know, excavator, backhoe, you have a design, you could put together earthworks, you know, pretty quick and probably see the results within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a green area. It's amazing what happens here. It's amazing. So yeah, the results here are going to be exponential compared to other places in the world.
Yeah.
Andrew, in India, what I see in the project that you documented is like they actually got water to the farmers before they even had like a lot of trees growing back because of the swales and ponds.
Yeah, I mean, so they regenerated the water table pretty instantly, and they didn't even necessarily have trees as an essential part of that. They just got the water in the ground. Now the question is, you know, how does that compare? What does the aquifer look like? I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, it might not, you know, you might have different aquifer conditions here versus there. You know, it's just hard to say. You kind of have to do your research about it. But yeah, I mean, if you just do those water harvesting structures and you put the water in the ground, you'll have an instant result.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
when we have the pilot program showing results, could you come over? Of course, we'll find pay the resources for you to go. Could you come over?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Great. Well. I mean, that's all I have for you. I don't know if Rafael has any more questions, but Rafael, I think you and we can do a lot of the other work. And just by Andrew documenting the pilot program results, that's going to help us to maybe push it to the whole Municipio de Sajoma or the whole nation.
Yes, absolutely. You know, the only thing that I have is, again, is convincing people is like anything else. You're selling a product, so we have to do a good job of documenting and showing the results. And, you know, that takes a lot of skills, you know, selling anything, you know.
Yeah.
That's why people go to school to learn marketing. So that's an issue, but
we'll do it.
It can be done.
Yeah. So maybe I don't know. I'll keep you posted by email how we're doing, and if there's anything. If we have a big fundraiser event, maybe we'll invite you over from Oregon to somewhere in New York.
Okay. And also, the other thing I would say is, even though, okay, if there's a place in Haiti or Puerto Rico, it's not necessarily, you can't just bring farmers there, but it would be good as a story, you know, to be like looking at, you know, if you're going to do some documentation, then yeah, you go to DR, but you also go around and you look at other projects that are all around there. And so, you know, for a video kind of thing, finding other successful projects in the area would be very relevant. So if you know, if you hear of anything, that would definitely be very valuable.
I think it would be great to make it work in DR, so then we could bring it to Haiti too. I mean, more desperate need.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I have. I wanna thank you for your time, Andrew. And we'll be in touch. By email is good, right?
Yeah, email's good for sure.
Great, thank you so much. And
all right,
do you give me permission to share some of this online? The part that I don't see any any problematic here. And please don't copyright some of your material so I could share that with the Dominican.
Yeah. I'm open source.
Okay, great. Thank you. Same here.